It is Sunday, October 25th, 2020, and this is Truly News. I am your host, Jason Van Sickle. Today, we are launching a new service with our Truly News print edition. There, you can find the article summaries from this podcast with links to the original articles. The print edition is available at trulynews.org. And now, on to today's news. As always, we start with a quick rundown of the top headlines from the nation's largest newspapers. From USA Today, Vice President Pence's Chief of Staff, Mark Short, has tested positive for COVID, becoming the most recent high-profile person within the Trump administration to test positive. From the Wall Street Journal, at least 7 states are reporting record high cases of COVID, as Saturday saw the nation's second day in a row of a record-breaking 80,000 plus cases. From the New York Times, several individuals on Mike Pence's staff have tested positive for COVID, including his chief of staff, raising questions about White House safety protocols. And from the Los Angeles Times, a scientist has found thousands of leaking barrels of the toxic pesticide DDT, which had been dumped in the ocean by manufacturers several decades ago. And from the Washington Post, Trump failed to follow through on his vow to, quote, drain the swamp, unquote, spending his presidency raising millions from lobbyists and special interest groups. And here are the stories that are crossing the wire at Reuters News. A team of scientists in protective gear eradicated the first nest of Asian giant hornets, also known as murder hornets, out of a tree in Washington state on Saturday. And also from Reuters, Saturday was New York's first day of in-person voting, and 10 days before the election, many people stood in long lines and packed polling places to cast their vote. And those are your top headlines for today. Now, here is our announcer, Ron Johnson, with a word from today's sponsor.
Today's sponsor is the Porta Potty Company. From PP's new clothing line comes a new type of hiking shorts that allow hikers to hike all day. Using advanced astronaut technology, PP's new hiking shorts allow hikers to skip those annoying bathroom breaks. When hiking, wear the best gear, and if it's not PP, then you better start digging a hole. Thank you to Porta Potty for today's sponsorship.
Thank you, Ron. And now we return to today's news. In science news, from Science Daily, scientists have found that the part of the brain which allows humans to visualize words seems to be pre-wired at birth. Scans of infant brains show that area already connected to the language part of the brain. This suggests that humans have evolved specialized language functions in the brain that are inherited at birth. In technology news, from CNBC, Microsoft is partnering with SpaceX to make Microsoft's cloud computing a part of SpaceX's new Starlink satellite internet service. SpaceX is presently building the first space-based internet service as it continues to launch thousands of small satellites into orbit. The satellites will encircle the Earth, providing internet to anywhere on the planet. And in space news, from USA Today, 3 days ago, the unmanned spacecraft OSIRIS-REx touched down briefly on the ancient asteroid Bennu to collect samples 200 million miles from Earth. On Friday, NASA scientists announced that the dust and pebbles sucked up by OSIRIS-REx actually jammed the collection system, and the spacecraft is now leaking the samples into space. And that is your science, technology, and space news for today. It is now time for our Joke of the Day, presented by my friend and comedian Billy Potbelly Cunningham. And here's Billy.
Thank you, Jason. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham. And today we have a special top 5 food joke countdown. These jokes are from Reader's Digest, but I do a little editing to make them even funnier. So, here we go. Number 5. Why do watermelons have fancy weddings? Answer: because they can't elope. Number 4. Who's a dessert's favorite actor? Answer: Robert Brownie Jr. Number 3. Did you see the movie about the hot dog? It was an Oscar wiener. Oh, man. Number 2. Did you hear how they caught the great produce bandit? He stopped to take a leak. All right. And your number 1 food joke of the day. What do you call a fake noodle? Answer: an imposter. Oh, well, that was good. And that was your top 5 food joke countdown of the day. Until next time, be kind to others, be good to yourself, and keep on smiling. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham. Over and out.
Thanks, Billy. We now return to our review of the day's news. In social news from the Pew Research Center, of the 15% of Americans that are single, nearly half say that dating has gotten harder over the last 10 years. Online dating, the Me Too movement, and other social issues have made dating difficult, with most unhappy with their dating life. 65% of women report that they have negative experiences that include inappropriate or harassing behaviors. In environmental news, from CNET, despite reductions in harmful gases from aerosols and refrigerants, holes in the ozone layer remain a problem, and this year one of the largest holes occurred above the Antarctic. The ozone layer is important because it protects Earth from the sun's harmful radiation. The hole over the Antarctic fluctuates in size annually, but this year's size is concerning. And that is your social and environmental news for today. Now it is time for our Words of Wisdom with philosophy professor Dr. Albert Feinstein. And here is Dr. Feinstein.
Thank you, Mr. Van Sickle. Hello and welcome. Today's words of wisdom come from the Dalai Lama, who said, "When I meet people from other cultures, I know that they too want happiness and do not want suffering. This allows me to see them as brothers and sisters." These are important words in a society where more people are focused on what divides us than unites us. We should all take the time to remember that we are in this life together. We are all simply trying to survive and find happiness while avoiding suffering. It is much easier to achieve those goals if we work together as human brothers
and sisters. And those are your words of wisdom for today. Until next time, keep seeking wisdom and believing in your incredible potential. Good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Feinstein. We appreciate your words of wisdom and your words of encouragement. Now, we return to our review of the day's news. In health news, from CNN, the Center for Disease Control has issued a warning about a listeria outbreak linked to deli meats. Listeria is a germ that can cause serious infection, and so far it has sickened 10 people across 3 states. The CDC has not yet identified the potential food supplier, but 9 victims reported eating Italian-style meats such as salami. In economic news, from the Wall Street Journal, in a new survey of the purchasing managers at U.S. companies, it appears that U.S. economic activity has grown at its fastest pace in more than a year. In world news, from Reuters News Agency, Europe just became the second region in the world to pass 250,000 deaths from COVID, according to Reuters' coronavirus tracking program. Europe now follows Latin America, which was the first region to see over 250 deaths from COVID. Record numbers have been reported in both regions over the last 2 weeks. And that is your health, economic, and world news for today. In entertainment news, we start with new movies, and today's movie is Friendsgiving, starring Malin Ackerman, Kat Dennings, and Jack Donnelly. This movie falls into the categories of comedy and drama. And here is the description from IMDb. Molly and Abby, along with their crew of close friends and acquaintances, host a dysfunctional, comical, and chaotic Thanksgiving dinner. Friendsgiving is now playing in theaters, and it is available for rent on YouTube. Moving on, in newly released shows, today's show is The Queen's Gambit, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Bill Camp, and Marielle Heller. This series falls under the category of drama. And here is the description from IMDb. 8-year-old orphan Beth Harmon is quiet, sullen, and by all appearances unremarkable. That is, until she plays her first game of chess. Episodes of The Queen's Gambit are now streaming on Netflix. Finally, in entertainment news, we look at newly published books. And our book for today is Modern Comfort Food by Ina Garten. This book is presently #1 on the New York Times Advice and How-To bestseller list. And here is a summary from Amazon. Ina Garten shares 85 new recipes that will feed your deepest cravings. Dishes like cheddar and chutney grilled cheese sandwiches and smashed hamburgers with caramelized onions. Modern Comfort Food is now available at your local bookstore and in print and Kindle formats on Amazon. And that is your entertainment news for today. As always, we end our broadcast with Hope for Humanity, stories about the goodness and kindness that people show each other every day. And here is today's story. From the Star Tribune in Minnesota, a story submitted by Sarah Montplaisir. In April, Sarah's son was diagnosed with leukemia. Shortly after the diagnosis, Sarah was contacted by Christina Grasso, a teacher at St. John's Lutheran Church. Sarah and Christina did not know each other very well, but Christina had learned about Sarah's son and offered to help by doing their grocery shopping. 6 months later, Christina is still doing their weekly shopping, and Sarah says that the gesture has been a ray of sunshine during a difficult time. And that is your news for October 25th, 2020. Have a wonderful day.